Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for another summer reading webinar with KDLA. This is Krista King Oaks, Youth Services Consultant with the Kentucky Department of Libraries and Archives. You are at the webinar titled Rethinking Summer Reading, Our Journey from Ordinary to Outstanding with Suzanne and Tess Valentine from the Henry County Public Library. Just a reminder, if you have any technical issues, please check the Audio Wizard setup at the top bar of the main menu. You can also let me know. I'll be monitoring issues and questions in the chat. We will periodically take questions throughout today's webinar, so just place them there and I will keep track. Slides from today's webinar will be made available at the end, and the webinar is being recorded and will be available within 1 week. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Suzanne and Tess. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. I hope everybody can hear us. We are here today to talk about our journey from turning our traditional summer reading program into our outstanding summer learning program. As Krista said, I am Suzanne with the Henry County Public Library. I have been at the library for roughly 20 years, and so this summer will be like my 21st summer program, I think. And I work at the Henry County Public Library, which is a rural library, kind of equidistant between Lexington and Louisville. We're kind of a small library. We serve a population of upwards of 15,000. I'm not sure exactly what the population is now. I should check. But so we are kind of a small library, but we are a library where our motto should be don't get used to anything, because we are constantly in transition. We're constantly trying new things and adding new programs. And one of the things that we added a couple years ago before we started this program was my assistant, Tess. So I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Hello, guys. I am Tess Valentine. I have been with the Henry County Library since it'll be 2 years in March, and I come in at the beginning of this, and so I feel like this is my baby too. I've been here the whole time it's been going on.
So we'll just jump right into the beginning of our program. We started with a vision, and it was a vision that the director and I shared. We wanted to try some new things, so we wanted to have a shift from just focusing on reading to also focusing on science and math and all of the other things or skills that people lose during the summer, or students lose during the summer. And we also really wanted to promote some 21st century learning skills like problem solving and collaboration, while trying to figure out how to get whole families to participate and to have a more hands-on experience. We really wanted it to be more than just, let's read a book together and then close the book and then walk away and we color in our log or place a sticker on our chart and be done with it. And so we created our summer learning program from this vision. And we really did talk about it. It was a several-year process to talk about getting things together for this. Of course, we started with research. I did like probably 2 years worth of research on looking at studies on summer learning loss, on looking at other summer learning programs, including summer camp and things like that across the state. And then we decided that 2017 was the year that we were going to launch that program. And so the director and I had a couple of meetings with just the two of us talking about what our goals were going to be, how we wanted to approach this, how we were going to get the whole staff on board. And as you can see, there were lots of meetings. One of the most important meetings that we had was actually with the assistant superintendent, not the assistant principal, of our countywide school system. And the director and I met with him, and we told him what we were trying to do. We asked him about what things that he thought the kids need to work on most, what he saw the kids struggling with across the board. And so he asked us if we could incorporate as much reading for information and as much writing as possible. That would be awesome. And then he also shared with me information about all of the core competencies, what the school's goals were, and let us in on some information that we wouldn't have had otherwise to help us plan this program. While attending all these meetings and talking with everyone, I didn't have a clear, cohesive plan of how I wanted this program to start. I knew that we wanted to incorporate science experiments, we wanted to incorporate art, we wanted to have hands-on activities, and we wanted to do all these things. But then Krista set up this really awesome pre-conference that was presented by the youth service manager at the Skokie Public Library. And she presented on their summer program that had kind of the same goals and some of the same things that we were trying to do. So I don't like to take credit for this whole thing because really attending this program is how we came up with our plan. Their program works, the kids come in, they register, they get a badge and a lanyard, and then they choose some different activities and different things that they can do to earn some different badges that they then attach to their lanyard because they use buttons, which is what we do. And then I had that light bulb moment, and I was like, that's it, that we're going to run with it. I had several conversations with Ms. Sutherland, the youth service manager, about, I was like, I'm going to steal pieces of your program if you're okay with that. It's really cool. And so they are, and she gave me permission to use whatever I wanted to use and to run with it, and was really flattered by the fact that we thought it was so cool. After that, we met with we started a summer learning committee. And this was previous to Tess being hired, so it was just me, our two bookmobile librarians who would be running the program on the bookmobile, our director and our adult services librarian were also involved in the actual planning of this bones and what our badges were going to look like, what activities we were going to focus on, how we were going to structure registration and things like that. And then at all of our staff meetings were probably 6 months leading up to the program, there was mention of this is where we are in the planning process, this is what we're doing now, this is what's coming up that you need to know about, and eventually the staff also got input into it. And we did, of course, we did some major training before we launched this program too with the staff and staff meetings. And so this is what we ended up with for summer of 2017. These are our badges. The first one, we'll start in the upper corner with the book that looks like the old Book It program that Pizza Hut used to have, if you remember that. That's our Radical Reader badge, and the one beside it is Super Reader. Those two allow families to participate in a traditional way. You're just reading, and you're keeping track of your time, and once you reach a certain time, you get your badge. Then we had the Science Squad Leader badge, which focused on science and technology, and we'll look at that one a little bit more in depth in a minute. Our Henry County Hero badge, which was created to promote some pride in our county. And then we have our Champion of Creativity, which focused on art and some outside-of-the-box thinking. We had our Globetrotter badge, which was not as popular as we really wanted it to be. It was a multicultural badge, and a lot of our activities were based on a core competency that elementary schools are required to promote, and we also kind of wanted to promote, you know, some love for some people that maybe don't look like us or live like us, but it wasn't very popular. And then we had a Green Go-Getter badge, which focused on both like agriculture, where our food comes from, and also recycling and things like that. And then our Math Madness badge, which was, of course, all about math, and was probably our least popular badge, and we will probably not have a math badge again. We've just incorporated math and everything else. When kids come to register for the program, they got a folder, and inside their folder was, we had 2 sheets of paper and then a traditional reading log, and that told them everything that they needed to know to earn all of these badges so that they would know, you know, they could pick and choose ahead of time what they wanted to do. They also picked out their lanyards and got their official summer learning name badge, and then we encouraged them to wear them every time they came to the library and to all of our programs. So it was really cool to see the kids with their lanyards on at all of our programs and to see which badges that they had earned, and they were all really excited about adding them to their lanyards. And then we also, in a minute, when you look at the activities, you'll see that some of them require the kids to do things like fill out a science experiment sheet or There was one that was about coding your own name, and so we had like some instructions to go with that. There was a bean seed experiment, and we provided the lima beans, and so we had some folders at the front desk that had all of the paperwork that you would need, and then the papers were on the bookmobile too, and they could come in and flip through the folders and pick up what they needed to earn their badges. So we'll look a little bit closer at at our two most popular badges for 2017, so you can kind of see what it was like to earn one of them. Our Science Squad Leader badge was our most popular, and of course there was reading involved. The kids could read a nonfiction book about science or technology. They could also read a book about a scientist. They could check out a science experiment book or pick any science experiment book. It didn't have to be out of a book that they checked out at the library. They could look up one online and then fill out the science experiment sheet. And the sheet went through the whole scientific process from forming your hypothesis to writing down what you did to this is what I learned from this experiment. Design Your Perfect Robot was really, really popular. Some people just drew those, but some kids actually built their robots. Attend any of our science programs or complete any kind of STEM projects. They could stargaze with their family because we were hoping to get some family involvement in there. We also had an internet safety pledge because we did have a little bit of technology in there, and so we were trying to get them to talk a little bit about internet safety with their families and their kids. Code their name in binary, and then they could make a flyer or a collage about ways that science and technology have made our lives better. I'm going to let Tess talk about our most popular badge that we will do every year from here until the end of time because the kids love it.
Yes, and that's our Henry County Hero badge. And then this one, you could read a book about a community helper or write a thank you note to that helper. You could visit one of the Henry County parks and then write a story or draw a picture and talk about your adventure there. Another one was create at least 2 bookmarks that the bookmobile librarians could give out and distribute to people that they visit. We also encourage them to volunteer or donate to a local charity or do something nice for a neighbor or friend. This one was really cool because I think it really emphasized the importance of where you live. The kids actually found out a lot about their own community and things that were around them and the people that are in our community that actually help on a daily basis. Some of the other activities were interviewing a friend or a family member or even reading a book about a Kentucky author or by a Kentucky author. A lot of the kids created collages of the county. Another thing we did was drawing maps of the county. One of the things I do the story time. So I tried to connect a lot of it with the story time. And I wanted to involve the little kids into getting badges too. So I was able to take the county maps that we get and incorporate that into the story time, and the kids helped find out different things in the community that they didn't know was there and that we mapped on the map. One of the things the kids did was with the farmers. A lot of them chose to write letters to the local farmers in this one, which is really cool because we was able to share them with the farmers themselves. So this one turned out really cool, and it definitely raised awareness of our county.
Tess mentioned Storytime, and as she said, she tried to incorporate as many of the activities into Storytime as we can, and we also tried to do that with all of our programs. Our programs were really driven by the requirements of the badges, and by not just the requirements specifically, but what we were trying to accomplish with each of the badges, because each of the individual badges had a goal, like promoting community pride for Henry County Hero. So these are some pictures for some of our programs. I think probably the one that we incorporated the most challenges in was Tinker Tuesday. That's a typical Tinker Tuesday for us in the bigger picture. We were, there's a science experiment going on at one table. We had the science experiment sheets there. I was at that table going step by step through through the science experiment with the kids, they were working on the project together, collaboratively. We had, and this picture is actually from this year, so we have some kids playing with the robots in the back table. Tess is doing marshmallow shooters. We have some kids building balloon power boats, so which was one of the activities that you could do for a badge that summer. We were actually doing specifically a science experiment that was a requirement for rock and roller at that table. We do lots of art projects over the summer, so we try to theme those art projects based on what the requirements for the badges are, and then our presenters come in too, and our presenters help the kids earn badges. That first year, one of the things to do for Globetrotter was to learn a traditional song or dance from another country, and we had Gregory Acker and Hamandu come and talk about music in South Africa, and we all got in a big circle, and we danced and sang together, and it was really cool, and it helped every kid that was at that program check something off of their badge sheet.
Yeah, like I said about the story time, I was able to incorporate a lot of the things that we did on Tinker Tuesday into the story time so that the younger ones would be able to earn the badges too. Just like if it was a science experiment, instead of the kids doing it individually, we did it as a group, and that helped them. And then we talked a lot of discussion about it in that. I think our Tinker Tuesday was a big hit because we had a lot of those activities that were on the activity sheets. We did a lot of those to where the kids were able to participate, where some of them may not have been able to participate at home in a lot of those science experiments and messy activities. So I think that helped with the kids earning those badges.
I did make a list of some of our other popular projects from year one, if anybody's interested. We did, even though a lot of kids, that math badge wasn't super popular, a lot of kids that didn't earn the math badge still did some of the activities. And we had a set of panagrams that it was just run off on cardstock, and they could take them home and put them together and make an animal or a picture or something. And we had lots of kids turn those back in. Probably more kids turned those back in than actually earned the math badge. So even if they weren't earning the badges, they were still completing some of the activities. As Tess mentioned, writing a thank you note to a farmer. So you could read a book about farming and write a thank you note to a farmer. And I think we are a farming community, and our local farmers don't get a whole lot of thank yous, especially in the culture that we're living in today. And so they were super appreciative of, having that piece of paper from the kids. And you could write a thank you note or draw a picture, and the pictures were really sweet. The bean seed experiment was so popular that I had to make a trip to our local feed and seed store to pick up lima beans twice during the summer. But they got a Ziploc bag and their bean, and they grew it, and they did the experiment where you stick a paper towel in there and watch your bean seed grow in the window. And they all kept a journal where you would draw a picture of what your bean seed looked like and how it was growing. We put together really super cheap kits to make your own catapult with just cross sticks and a spoon and some rubber bands, or they could come up with their own. Making a homemade musical instrument was really popular. There are several musical instruments in that picture. And then we had bird feeders everywhere. They were hanging outside in all of our trees. And then the kids, of course, could keep them and hang them up in their tree too, or we gave some to the bookmobile to distribute to some of their residents. It was really cool. As you can see, we displayed a lot of their artwork. As participants get their activities done, we have a mailbox. It looks like a big blue mailbox that you would see on the corner for people to put their mail in. We have one sitting at the end of our desk that I'm lucky enough to have a handy dad, so he built me a mailbox. And the kids come in and they bring all their stuff, and if they're really excited, they show it to whoever the staff is at the desk. And then they open the door and drop all their stuff in the mailbox, and then we go through it and display it in the library. They can also post pictures online. When we talk about the Storyteller badge a little bit later, they could actually make a video of themselves telling a story. And some of those got posted online this last summer. And we put as many projects in the glass display case. We had them hanging up down the hall. We had them displayed on every shelf. We had them at the desk. And seeing their work in the library really gave the kids some ownership in both the project for the program and the library this summer. So it was really cool. And they would bring their grandparents in and, you know, find their artwork and point out to their grandparents that that was their robot or their musical instrument or their story that they wrote. And we also posted them online. And like Tess said, at the end, we distributed thank you notes to our farmers, to the police, the firefighters. We got a few thank you notes to some teachers at the end of summer, so it was really cool. And it really gave the kids this sense of accomplishment that their work was displayed at the library. We did expand on this idea of science and math and 21st century learning to include some bonus badges, and the bonus badges are my favorite part of summer. We created these 4 bonus badges that you got not for doing activities, but for kind of going above and beyond and doing some special things. We have a curiosity badge for kids that ask really good questions or they really dive into a project. We had a kid last summer that sang us a song. He was little bitty, and his mom sat him up on the desk, and he sang us a song, and it was a traditional Cajun song.
It was in Creole.
Yeah, and he sang it in Creole, and it was so cute, and he was so proud of himself, and we gave him a curiosity badge. We had the Helping Hands badge for kids that, you know, help their friends out in projects, that kind of help clean up after a program, things like that. We have a teamwork badge because we try, in our Thinker Tuesday, we try to incorporate some team building. And also we just, sometimes there's just kids who were like, who've never met each other before, who are working together to put on a puppet show in our kids' room. And so we might give them a teamwork badge. And then we had a kindness badge too. The kids were really into earning the bonus badges. It really kind of, it gave us an extra level to our program, especially for the kids that were coming in here. And just to give you an example of the kind of environment that it created, I included that picture because my favorite bonus, I love like awarding bonus badges, but we were having a Tinker Tuesday. We have a partnership with one of our migrant education people, and she brings some of the students that she works with over to like a week of programs. Like they're here every day during the week. And so those 4 boys were here every day of the week. They participated in everything that we had done. We had a team building challenge that day that was all about, I think it was one where you had to like fold paper in a certain way, and then we stacked books on top of the paper. And if your stack of paper held so many books, you got a teamwork badge. And they had already earned theirs. But my stepson, who struggles in social situations and was in total sensory overload, could not find, he was working with his brother, and his brother abandoned him, and he was really upset because he couldn't get his project to work, and then he wasn't going to get his teamwork badge because he couldn't get a team together. And so those 4 boys were like, oh no, we've got this. We'll totally help him out. And so they worked with him for a good solid 10 minutes in getting this challenge completed, and we came over and we checked it out, and he got his teamwork badge. And then a few minutes later, he came up to me and he said, can I give them a kindness badge, because they did not have to help me do that. And so they earned kindness badges that day too. And we saw things like that all summer long. We have a summer camp that we work with that has between 35 and 45 kids every summer. And a lot of the kids that she brings have some behavioral issues. So we had, those kids were so proud that they could earn their kindness badge for doing something kind. And you know, one day we gave a kindness badge for a kid who just continued to applaud all of his friends when they were awarded all their other badges. And even though he wasn't getting a badge, he was so proud of everybody else. And when I gave him the badge, the facilitator of the program started crying because she said, you don't understand, he has spent the entire morning in trouble because he has hit his friends and he has talked back, and then now you just awarded him for being, you know, nice, and he's had this nice moment. And it kind of made him think about his behavior for a little bit too. So it was a really nice moment. So the bonus badges are huge. Tess and I hand out bonus badges at programs, but also we give that power to our special presenters that come in, so they can give curiosity badges for kids that ask them really awesome questions, who really get into a program. And the rest of the staff has the power to hand them out too. So if they see a kid being really kind or if a kid really helps them clean up the children's room at the end of the day or something like that, they can award the badges to you. So it also is a way to get the rest of the staff involved in the program. We learned lots of lessons for year one. We learned that staff buy-in is extremely important. We could not have done this if the rest of the staff was not as excited about the program as we were. Those staff meetings leading up to it were really important. Giving the staff input in the program was really important. We also did goal setting before the program started, so everybody had a particular goal, whether it was to register X amount of kids, to learn the name of 10 kids that they've never met before. So the goals were important. And also all of the staff wore official name badges or official badges for summer with their picture or a random picture that they chose, and they wore the badges all summer long. And so the kids felt that the staff was really cool and wanted to know what we did to earn all those badges. Please don't tell them we didn't do anything because they'll be disappointed in this.
Yeah.
But we learned that the parents and our caregivers were a much harder sell than the staff were for this program. The kids were excited. The staff was excited. The parents were like, what do you mean I have to make this art project with my kids? Or what do you mean I have to make a bird feeder? And so we learned that during year two, we needed to do a better job of explaining to caregivers, no, you choose what you get to do. You don't have to do all of this. You don't have to do any of it if you don't want to. You can just read with your kids if you want to. But the reason that we do these things is so that you can have this experience together, or because your kids are going to lose some of their science skills over the summer if they don't practice and things like that. We learned that we absolutely have to display as much of the work as we can because it really added to the kids' enjoyment of the program. And then that community involvement, that the thank you cards to community helpers, the getting the school involved, all of those things were an absolute must to make this program a success. And then we expanded our vision for year two to include social and emotional learning. I know we've all done lots and lots of training lately on social and emotional learning and the importance and how to incorporate it in our programs. And so we really wanted to incorporate it into our program. Also, we see our families struggling, we see our kids struggling, we see them dealing with a lot of things, and so we wanted to give them some coping skills to deal with the things that are happening in their lives. So our year two badges last summer were Radical Reader and Super Reader again. We kind of reimagined, we kind of redesigned them a little bit. We still had the Science Squad Leader and the Henry County Hero because they were the most popular, and then we had Excellence in Engineering, a Master of Mindfulness, which we did some really cool activities for. The kids could create a calm down corner. We had a little anger, it was a fortune teller, one of those pick a number type things to help the kids learn how to calm down. We did, you make an art project while you listen to music. We did all kinds of really cool stuff for that. We had Rock and Roller to kind of, as a throwback for the national theme. And then we had a Storyteller badge where the kids could read stories, they could write stories, they could record stories, they could put on a puppet show. There were all kinds of cool things that they could do. Year two, in addition to having some new badges, we also got smarter and streamlined the registration process a little bit. Instead of 3 different pieces of paper, everyone got a booklet that we printed in-house, and it lists everything that a parent could possibly need to participate in summer was in this booklet. It included some instructions for some of the activities on the sides, and then it went into a folder, and our registration folders in 2018 included all of the paperwork that you needed. So if you needed 2 science experiment sheets to do science experiments with, you had 2 science experiment sheets in there. The folders also had a coffee filter for a butterfly test, which we'll talk about in a minute, and a pipe cleaner. It had a balloon for to make your stress ball with. So every single kid who registered got all of those things. It also made it a little bit easier for the parents and made it seem like a little bit less work to we heard less complaints from the caregivers in doing it that way. So streamlining the program really helps, and we will continue to do that in the future. Our year 2 popular projects are listed, and Tess is going to talk about some of them and maybe some extras too.
Some of the most popular ones were the balloon-powered car. that was, you could use the balloon in your kit for that. That one went over really well, and of course we had a lot of cars come in here and demonstrate it for us. And then we had the butterflies that we made, and which was really cool because we had butterflies. We had a lot of them. We ended up making a huge butterfly mobile with all of them. The kids thought that was really cool, and they was able to create them themselves. Again, all that material was in the registration folder when we gave it to them. Be a hero and spread kindness throughout the community. That was a good one because I mentioned the farmers earlier, but we also was able to more awareness of our police officers and our firemen. The kids were really excited to, when we gave them somebody to talk about, we would read a book about it, and then they would think how the community helpers had really helped us and things that they'd done, and then they would express that in their thank you note. Making a variety of paper airplanes and comparing them. This one was interesting because the kids thought there was only one way, most of them, one way to fold for a paper airplane. Well, we had several books here at the library, so they was able to look through the books and find out that there was many, many, many ways to fold a piece of paper into an airplane. So that was something that we had in the kids' room. We had paper airplanes flying through the kids' room a lot. But it was okay because nobody got hurt, and the kids really enjoyed it. And they was able to physically see which designs would fly better than the others. The stress balls was really nice to have. Once we got all the kids involved and got on making them, they were super easy to make, and the kids actually enjoyed them. It took the place of those fidget spinners, I said. I thought the stress balls worked better than the fidget spinners. The dancing food experiment was one that we had actually did on one of our Tinkering Tuesdays, where each of the kids was able to see the experiment, talk about it, do the whole hypothesis, what we talked about before, we talked about during, and then after the experiment, all that we've seen and observed. And they got all the cool words that went along with the hypothesis and experiment and things like that. Making your own puppet was part of our Storyteller badge. And that one was interesting to see the different materials used to make the puppet. The kids got really, really creative with that. So that was some of the most popular for year 2, and I'm sure we'll be doing a lot more of this type of experiment coming up this year.
Yeah. And just so you know, sock puppets are really hard to hang on the wall.
Yes.
Lots of sock puppets and no place to put them. We did, of course, continue with our bonus badges, and we've redesigned our 4 main ones and used them again. And, you know, as I said, there were curiosity, helping hands, teamwork, and kindness. But we also had a new bonus badge for 2018, a leadership badge. And we did see when we did the teamwork challenges, or even if there were kids just kind of hanging out, there were really some kids that stepped up to be a leader. We did a STEM paper bag challenge project, and the daycare came that day, or the summer camp came that day, and we divided them up into groups. And there was one group where a kid was like, okay, you take this, and you do this thing, and then you do this part of it, and you try this out, and really kind of took charge. And so that's what the leadership badge was for. And he was so diplomatic about it, and he was so encouraging to everybody, and it was so cool. Also, one of the reasons that these bonus badges are so important and that we continue to do them is because we have a lot of kids who, just like the rest of you, who they're here every day during the summer. You know, they come in the morning when we're open, they hang out all day long, you hardly ever see their parents, and so they don't have the same kind of parental involvement or caregiver involvement that like I had growing up. But these bonus badges give the kids a way to participate in the program and have something to hang on their lanyard to be proud of without doing some, you know, having the pressure of doing the other activities. And we had one kid who I feel like we just kind of adopted. Like I felt like he was my own. And, you know, we spend the whole summer problem solving with him and doing things, and he's been with us he was with us for 2 summers, and there was a vast difference between year 1 and year 2, and so his behavior had really improved, and we were really proud of him. And I gave him a leadership badge because at the very beginning of summer in our first program, he was so good at this program where there were 170 kids, and things were crazy, and everybody was loud, and there was a potential for it to be a total disaster for this kid. But he sat and he listened, and he set a good example, and he was really good. And I let him be my line leader for petting the snakes because there were snakes at this program, which is why we had 170 people. And so I gave him a leadership badge, and I told him it was because you were so good, you set such a good example, I'm so proud of you. And then every day he would leave here and he would go to the park and play with his friends, and he would lose his leadership badge. And then he would come to me and say, Miss Suzanne, I lost it, and I'm so upset, and we would give him another one. So we made extra ones just for him. But he was so proud of that leadership badge and so excited to have this thing that he could show to his friends, and that he could say, I did this. And this was a kid who really needed some positive encouragement in his life. So the bonus badges are so important to us and important to our program. All right. So, and of course we learn lessons from year 2 because we learn lessons from everything. What we learned is that our PR focused on the national theme, and so we had like a band of 3 kids that we used in our posters, but it didn't really reflect what we were doing with the badges, and so I don't think it gave the kids an opportunity to get as excited as they did in year 1. If you look back through the slides, one of our first slides is what we call our summer learning team. Is a group of kids, and I think we're up to like 6 kids, and they all have names and they all have personalities. So they're right here on this slide, or 2 of our kids. Like there's a boy named Ash, and Ash really likes hats. So every time we use the summer leading team, he has a different hat on. This sports team year, he was a football player and he had a helmet on. And so we will be bringing the entire summer learning team back this year, and their outfits will reflect our badges, and the poster will reflect what we're doing more with summer learning, and I think it will enable the community and the kids to really understand what we're doing better. We need to include more social and emotional learning activities. I don't know about the rest of you, but we had a really rough summer with behavior, and I felt like I spent more time telling kids to calm down and telling parents to pay attention to their kids, and do you know your kid is climbing up like 6 shelves in the kids' room and they're all the way to the ceiling, kind of thing. And so we're really going to try to incorporate social and emotional activities into every single badge that we have, and then that we learn that community and school involvement in the planning process and making the schools feel like they have ownership in it is just as important in whatever year it is as it is in the initial planning process. So we will continue to do that.
One of the things that I learned myself was how important it was to, like she said, not wanting to do just the reading. A lot of our parents were, I thought this was just reading. Well, it was important to stress the fact that, kids lose a lot in those summer months. And if you stress that fact, we're just trying to keep up and keep them on track and keep them where they need to be. That was one thing I learned that needed to really be stressed, that this isn't just a bunch of work for you. This is actually a benefit for your child. That was one of the things that if you stress and explain to the parents, they tend to have picked up on it more. They was more willing to participate when you explained what it was about, as opposed to just saying, this is our learning. And then the kids really, I think the kids got more enjoyment out of it than the parents ever will, just because the kids enjoyed doing those hands-on activities. They enjoyed reading a book and then being able to talk about it and do extended activities from that. So I think that's one thing that I really learned.
And then, of course, we will continue to do this program for as long as it continues to be popular. As Andrew says, we're just going to keep on trucking. That's our friend Andrew. And we did I did a painting project where we came up with personal symbols and personal mottos and did kind of this abstract project. And his motto was just keep on trucking, no matter what. And so I always remembered that. And so we're just going to keep on trucking with year 3. I'm in the process of planning year 3 right now. I'm in the process of getting some presenters that will match up with some of our badges, and I think we're on the right track. And we have our badges planned, or we're working on planning them. We'll continue to do radical and super readers. We'll have a space traveler badge that kind of goes with the national space theme, which I really like, and so one of our summer reading team will turn into an astronaut this year, and some of the activities will be the kids writing a story about their trip into space, stargazing with their families. Our activity that will be included in the reading log, like the instructions included in the reading log, will be making your own puppy paint at home to paint the phase of the moon. What are some of the other things? Reading a book about space, of course. Designing your own planet. So some really, we'll do, instead of a badge that focuses just on multiculturalism, we're going to try to do a jet setter badge, which also includes some travel, like what would you pack in a suitcase and what would you bring home with you on your dream trip around the world kind of thing. We're going to have a healthy choices life skills badge where kids can help do chores at the house. They can help do laundry. They can help grocery shop. We're going to talk about eating healthy snacks. We'll talk about internet safety. We'll talk about physical exercise. Instead of our science squad leader badge, we're going to do a maker badge. And then we'll, of course, continue to do the Henry County Hero badge because we think it's so important. And then we were just throwing around ideas right before this started for our last badge. And Tess had a great idea to do an outside of the box badge where it's just, it doesn't really have a cohesive theme, but it's got lots of outside the box thinking in it. And I can already see the badge in my head, so I'm really excited about it. So I think we'll probably go with that one. And then, there will be lots of meetings with school systems in the upcoming months to promote this program and to have them have some ownership in the planning process, and we'll start talking about it with the staff and some things like that.
And get it all started already.
Yes. Does anybody have any questions for us? I know it's a really different program than everybody was used to. We weren't really scared that there would be a lot, not really scared, but I was concerned that there would be a lot of pushback from parents, and other than the complaints about it, so much work. They were really excited about the program. And it has changed our programming in that I see more parents participating in the program in a hands-on way. So that's been really cool. I think it has really, in past years, it was you come, you sit down, you do this thing, you leave. Or you come, you see this person, you leave. But now there's much more interaction. There's interaction with the rest of the staff, not just the children's service people. So it's been really cool to see.
Yes, definitely. Because it's that expanded on things that has, I think, opened up a lot of the eyes. Like this isn't just a book. This is a book that's going to, tell you stories and give you ideas and you can experiment with. So adding that extended to it is what I think has helped a lot.
And on a personal note, we all experience burnout from time to time. We all get tired of doing the same story time over and over again or the same reading program over and over again. So this kind of, like, professionally and personally energized me to be excited about this program again. So our program, a typical week in summer, we were just asked, do you plan any other programs like Tinker Tuesday for any other days of the week? So what a typical day for us looks like during the summer is Monday we'll do story time, which we actually call Little Explorers, and then we'll have, or another like preschool program. We might have a special presenter in the afternoon. Then we do Tinker Tuesday, which is the round robin style. Every Wednesday we show a free family movie, which is really popular during the summer because we do not have a local movie theater. So we get huge crowds for those, and we provide the snacks too. One day a week, I go to do programming at a community center, which is on the other side of the county from us. And it's kind of like me thinking Tinker Tuesday on the road. We might do an art program. And then on Fridays, we usually have another special presenter or another special program come in. Tinker Tuesday is the only one that's really focused on, like, you can check 3 things off of your badge like that. But we also, like, we'll do make and take days. We'll add in our Super Saturday, which is what we always call our kickoff. We incorporate some of those activities in there where it's kind of like a round robin thing. So you would do a science experiment at this station that would count. You would do an engineering activity at this station that would count. You would go see this special presenter and it would count, kind of thing. And we had days where we would just lay out the activity in the kids' room, and just whatever kids that come in that day would get to participate in this activity. One of the things that we always do a collaborative art project. And so the first year you could decorate a lizard that we added to like this. It was part of our Math Madness badge because it was like a pattern, and it was hard to get them to all fit together, but they all fit together a certain way, and it was kind of like an Escher thing. And so we had those lizards available every day for like a week, and all the supplies to decorate it with. 1 week we set out supplies to decorate the bookmarks for the bookmobile with. So we have those things going on too at the same way.
And just to say that our presenters really enjoyed giving out the buttons.
Oh, absolutely.
And they were really good about working with our theme, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and coming up with things that go along with our theme. So that was really cool. But the kids really liked getting things from the presenters too.
Mm-hmm.
And that helped the kids participate, where you've seen a lot of the really quiet kids,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that they may be able to get this badge if they ask a question, really opened them up too.
Mm-hmm. And they came up with some really good, like some of them will come, because it can't just be what's your favorite color. It has to be a good, like serious, thoughtful question to get a badge. So they're really thinking about the way that they ask questions and the way that they like frame a question. So it's been really cool to watch. Heather asked, what has been your most popular craft from Tinker Tuesday? We have had so many popular things. We did the egg drop experiment the first year. That was super popular. It was a team challenge, and it was so popular that we did it at our celebration at the end, and the fire department came and let the kids climb on top of the fire truck to drop their eggs.
The boats were really...
boat building was really popular, and we had it was
a challenge to see how much weight it could hold.
Yeah, we had like $5 in pennies, and then I had a prize for whoever boat held the most weight, and it got pretty competitive. Let's see, what else have we done?
The robots were a huge success.
We could not do this program without our Friends group too. Our Friends group they write a grant every summer, and they pay for all of the books that we give away, because we don't do prizes, like little prizes anymore. You get your lanyard, you get your badge, and then when you get your first badge, you get a book, and then if you get all of your badges, you get a second book, and that's it. And the kids are so excited about these badges that they don't care that they don't get a pencil and a book bag and other little things. But our Friends group and their grant that they wrote last year included funds to buy a classroom set of Ozobots. And so we bring the Ozobots out for every Tinker Tuesday. We did squishy circuits that the kids really enjoyed. Us not so much, but the kids really liked them.
Kids really liked those.
We did Stomp Rockets one year. We did, and I had taken my kids to the Kentucky Museum of Arts and Crafts and done this project, and so I recycled their project and did it here at the VHS tape.
That was fun.
I took my dad's VHS collection that he told me ahead of time I could have it and I could use it, and we gave the kids safety goggles and hammers and let them tear these VHS tapes apart and gave them pieces of poster board, and they turned them into a brand new art project, and it was a recycled craft to help them earn their Green Go-Getter badge. But they came up with some really cool things. They were pulling the reels out, and one girl turned hers into a cheerleader, and like her outfit was the plastic pieces of the outside of the case, but the pom-poms were the film on the inside. Some kid had a movie projector.
Yeah,
like
the purse, one of the kids.
Yes, somebody made a purse. Like, it was really cool, and they had so much fun, like, destroying something and taking it apart and turning it into something new, so it was really cool. And you have to know, my email and Tessa's email are at the beginning of this presentation, so if you'd like more information, if you'd like instructions about anything, if you'd like to see our reading logs, you can just they're not really reading logs anymore, but our learning logs.
There you go.
Feel free to email us and we will send you anything. The original idea for summer learning or for Tinker Tuesday? Summer learning was just me wanting to do, I really wanted to do something different. We also all know that the summer learning loss is not just reading anymore. And I just really saw this need to get the caregivers and this whole family involved in a more thoughtful way. And so we just really wanted to focus on not just reading, but also science. We have a school system we have two school systems in our county. We have the Henry County Public School System, and then we have an independent school system. And the independent school system is very focused on 21st century learning. And so being in their classrooms, talking with them about how they're doing collaboration and they're talking about problem solving and things like that I thought, we can do that too. We can talk about that over the summer, because I don't want the kids to focus all year long at the school about solving problems and working together, and then they go home and they sit on their couch all summer and they watch videos and they don't think about problem solving anymore all summer. And we were also thinking about how can we create a community of successful kids, because it's not just reading, it's having the skills that you need to navigate in this world. And so we were trying to solve, or in some small way help these kids. How can I refer to the 40 developmental assets all the time, so it was also how can we help provide these kids with more assets too. So there were all kinds of reasons for switching to summer learning, but it was really just time for us to try something new too.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much to Suzanne and Tess for a phenomenal presentation. I do encourage everybody to spread the word about this, follow up with them, and do some more investigating into information behind summer learning trends. I put a link in the chat box from the National Summer Learning Association. Suzanne also mentioned the 40 developmental assets, and that is a great teaser for a webinar we will be hosting next week with our friends from the Lexington Public Library to kick off a month of teen services, programming, and resources. So at this time, I want to go ahead and switch over to some wrap-up and further resources. Again, this webinar is made possible in part by funding from the Library and Services and Technology Act with the Institute of Museum and Library Services. At the end of today's webinar, or while we are even going through these final slides, please feel free to check out a quick survey. It should only take a few seconds. In the box below labeled IMLS survey, it helps KDLA to retain our funding to bring you more quality training and resources. A reminder that you will be able to find more information about not only the collaborative summer library program, theme, and resources that belong to every public library in the state of Kentucky through our membership, but also more training, including presentations, slides, and handouts from last fall's KDLA Youth Services Retreat, as well as all of our webinars on summer reading. You can always find out about training, tips, and more by joining the Kayak listserv. It's an email distribution list dedicated to those working in libraries with children and teens. It's a great place to not only find information, but pose questions to colleagues across the state, to encourage others to subscribe, just simply send them an email asking them to include their name, library, and that they would like to be added to the list. Every Friday, we send out a digest email from the Kayak listserv that includes upcoming training and national tips and trends from stories across public libraries, youth literature, and youth services. You can also always find out about upcoming training opportunities by following KDLA on social media. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook. And all of the Kayak Weekly Digests are archived on the KDLA Youth Services website, along with information about upcoming statewide training, as well as partnerships with organizations like the Kentucky Humanities Council, Science and Play to Go with the Kentucky Science Center, as well as our resources with the State Library, from book kits to thematic programming kits and more. And again, don't forget, as we wrap up January, there will be many more months of exciting new KDLA Youth Services webinars. You can find out about those and register by visiting KDLA's Continuing Education calendar. And with that, I would like to once again thank our wonderful presenters, Suzanne Banta and Tess Valentine from the Henry County Public Library. I am Krista King-Oaks, Youth Services Consultant with the Kentucky Department for Libraries and Archives, and I'm going to end the recording. Thank you for joining us today.